Hello, everyone. In this lesson, let's add product analytics to our service. We want to know when new users register, when they perform key actions in our service, so we can later analyze how our product is growing and how users behave. Technically, we could create a table in the database and store some events there, build some charts based on them, and create a service for the admin. But it's not common to implement such things yourself, and it's better to use third-party services. I recommend using Mixpanel for product analytics because it's easy to integrate and analyze everything you need within it. Let's connect Mixpanel. For this, we need to create an account and link it to our email. Create the account and proceed. Great, I've entered the email and they're asking me. We say we're engineers. Who am I anyway? Manager. Teams. In short, none of this matters. Next. So, yes, we say that we will insert everything here ourselves as developers. So, organization name. So, it's a nickname. Your company. SaaS. Data center. Well, let it be in Europe. Great. So actually for us, the main thing is to get our token. Copy our token. And then, as usual, we need to set our env variables. So we go to the web app. We will send data to analytics from our front end, although it can also be connected to the back end. So you have some events that happen not on the front end. Yes, for example, in a cron job. And you can also send data from the back end there, but most data goes from the front end as it's more convenient. So .env, white, Mixpanel APK, our APK. We add it to examples, it's optional. And here we insert the secret. All right. Now we need to add this to NFTs. So it's optional locally, but mandatory in prod. All right. So now we need to install the SDK in our web app, npm install, Mixpanel browser, as well as the types for this Mixpanel browser, waiting for installation to complete. So, and we install the types. All right. And let's define our own helpers for working with Mixpanel. Mixpanel.tsx, insert the code, and analyze. So we need to initialize Mixpanel initially. We initialize it when this APK is specified. We made it optional. Good. Then write a small helper in which we will wrap all our other helpers, which will, let's first understand its functionality. If Mixpanel.apk is specified, then this bananablad returns the very function it was wrapped in. So, essentially, if it is enabled, it's just like this. And if it is not enabled, we return a function that takes nothing, returns nothing, and accordingly, nothing will happen. That is, if Mixpanel.apk is not specified, then here it will still be like this. That's it. You won't have to do the check in every helper. As for TypeScript, well, here's a generic. The past function, well, its type is just substituted into this generic, and bananablad always returns the same function. So, such are the things here with TypeScript. Now let's examine the helpers themselves. So, well, let me start with the lower ones. In Mixpanel, everything is divided into two things. It's users and events. How you send events. You need to call the track method in the SDK and pass the event name there, like registration, authorization, and we will also track likes. Like. The second argument can be any data scope, meaning any object, which will be recorded in Mixpanel. Here we want to see which idea received a like. All right, the event tracking is more or less clear. We just need to place them in the spots where these events occur and call them. Now, regarding the user. There are two main methods, identify and alias. When we talk about identify and pass the user ID from our system, we mark that all further actions will be from this user. So, if we called Mixpanel identify, all these events afterward will also be marked as performed by that particular user with that ID. And there is another method, Mixpanel.alias. It works just like identify. That is, after calling the alias method, all these events will be linked to our user, but also all actions of this user before alias was called will also be applied to them. Why do we need this? For example, a person came, did something on our site, then logged in, and only after this did they get an ID. And we also attached the old events to them. That's why it's called the alias method. When we insert it in the right places, it becomes clearer how it works even better. Well, Mixpanel.reset is kind of like resetting everything. Usually, we do this to clear the user information. We do this when a person logs out of the system. And since we identified this user, but only just linked our current user in the browser with some kind of ID, we can also pass any information about this user. For instance, anything starting with a $sign is a predefined field that has a special display in Mixpanel. Here, we pass the email like this. For the nickname, we pass to Nick. But we can send absolutely everything here, anything you want. And this data will also be added to the user's information. This Mixpanel.reset makes sense to call as soon as the person is identified and when some data in their profile changes. All right. And here I add specifically the Mixpanel.user component, which does not render anything. We'll insert it into our aptsx. We'll take our my and use useEffect, which is recalled every time my changes. If me exists, then we call this function for the user and update their data. If suddenly his email changes, it will be triggered and the data will be updated. If he logs out, me will become null and then reset will be called. Great. Let's apply this everywhere now. Apply it in places. So, first let's define our user in aptsx. Here we have a Sentry user. There will be a Mixpanel user. Okay, this is done. And because we imported this file directly into aptsx, this will also be triggered immediately, and Mixpanel will be initialized. Good. Added here. Now let's deal with the authentication and registration pages. So, pages auth sign in page. So, what needs to be done here? Here's a person signed in, and we should ideally identify them not through alias, but through identify. Like this. And here we need to pass the user ID. But at the moment of sign-in, we don't have the user ID yet. We get the user ID when we call getMe. So we need to fix our sign-in endpoint and return the user ID here specifically for Mixpanel. Nothing is stopping us from doing this. User.id. Just returned, go back to the front end and take this user ID. All right, now we have it. Great, we've identified the user, but they've also logged in, so we need to track this event. Mixpanel track sign in. In track sign in, we just track this event without additional parameters. Okay, added here. Now let's deal with the registration page. The logic is very similar. Again, we need to get the ID, user ID. It returns there. No, it doesn't return there. So it also needs to be added to this mutation. Return user ID to.user.id returning. So, and here we're calling alias, not identify. Because if a person is registering, it means they did something before and we would want to get those events too. We also need to track the registration event itself, track sign up. Okay, we've sorted out the authorizations. Good. We don't need to add anything extra because we've already added the Mixpanel user here. And when the user logs out and the ID becomes null, we will automatically perform a reset. All right? All right. And we just need to track the like events. So let's go to the idea overview page. Let's go to the like button and to the place where we click the like, where we click like. Well, right here, right? And we need to, after this mutation is successfully executed, trigger the like event. Let's do that. You can record den here. Okay, good. In principle, we don't need any responses from this mutation. We just need to call the method. There, Mixpanel like. Yes. Okay. And we pass the whole idea here. Right. And specify idea ID. Well, the only thing we do here is track both likes and dislikes and what options we have. What can we do? We can pass the idea and like it by me here. Like it by me. Right? We can take this like it by me from here. So we can pass it like this. As the second value, yes. And use it here. Like it by me. Right? And just pass it here. We can do it this way. But I don't want to track these states at all when someone likes or dislikes something. Let's only count likes. And again, we can do it as follows. You can set it here like this. If he passes like it by me, then pass it here. Well, to put it simply, it's more appropriate if you extract this value from the mutation since, who knows, something might go wrong. So, and here you can dislike by me, extract it like this. And if he liked it, I is E. Here we get a response from our mutation. There. And like this, it will probably be more correct. Okay, added here. And probably we can go see how it works for us. Switching to front end. Everything is loaded. Can check on network, making a checkout log. Something. Still can't see if there are requests from Mixpanel here. Let's place our console logs to see. Let's place our console logs to see that it's really happening. Yeah. It may look scary, but still. It's better to set it up and make sure everything is okay once, and then we'll delete it. In the future, when you add events, you won't need to check all this anymore. You'll already know all this. Well, go ahead. Panel track. Mixpanel track. Mixpanel track. All right. We've already defined these. Refresh the page again. Go to console. Mixpanel reset was called because we are not authenticated. Authenticate. What happened? Identify. Then track sign-in was called. Then people set was called. Great. Okay, let's de-authenticate. Mixpanel reset is called. Register. JJJ. Oh, we already have JJJ. Or maybe we deleted it. It's probably still deleted in our tests. So, we're logged in. We see track signup was there. Good. And people set, where we passed our email ID. Going to like the idea. Liked it. A like event occurred. Like was removed. No event, just as we wanted. Liked again. Sent the event again. So, good. Let's do something else with a different user, so we have diverse events in the system. So, let's like ID1. Great. We've made a lot of likes. This button is now unlocked. We can now view our data. Here, actually, let's start with users. All right, the events have loaded. Here's what we see. Just a list of all events. You can set up all kinds of filters here and so on. But this is also kind of a whole world. How do you do it? You can even perform cohort analysis, funnels, and so on here. And for each project, it's unique what exactly you want to track here. The point is that it can be done. You can select events. What's great is you don't have to predefine them. Whatever is passed will be here. Okay, here are the events. Show all events. So, a like should also be here. Also, since it's not a page here, but for some reason, I don't see the like here. However, if you enter it manually, it's there. I don't know, maybe not all events have been pulled here yet, but in theory, they should be displayed here. All right, everything can be filtered now. You can look into one specific event. For example, a user registered. You can open it and see from which page this occurred. Some information about the browser, country, and so on. There should also be information about the user here. So your properties. Mixpanel properties. So let's first see if we have users. Everything should be linked to them. So, users. So there are 2 users. Their names are not specified, but their email is absolutely correct. You can go into a user and look at their activity log. Here it's good. There was a sign in and a like. Our admin was dealing with such things. The internet here is just slow. That's why it takes a long time to load. Let's go to the user again, okay? And if you look at JJ, he registered and gave 2 likes. Well, excellent. You can view this, you can create all kinds of reports, save them on your dashboard, and have quick access to them here. With Mixpanel, once you understand what you want to analyze there, you'll be able to analyze it. That's it. I don't see the point in delving into it now. It's more of a separate mini course on data analytics. But that's slightly different. The main thing is that you have connected it. You're collecting all the events. The main thing is to send the events you need. Later on, when you decide you want to understand something about them, you can just build the charts you need. If you suddenly realize you don't need Mixpanel at all, you can simply rename these methods. Yeah, well, you can then just call them event, like this. They will change throughout the project. And here you are using a different system for tracking events, not Mixpanel. So, in any case, it's useful to set up events, collect data, and later, when needed, analyze this data. That's all. We can delete our console logs, commit, and move on. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.